You're listening to the Mike and Abe show, and Mike's not here right now, but I have on the line Mr. Dane Clayton. That's your name, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Tell me your story, Dane.
Okay, my name is Dane Clayton. I'm currently an Uber driver. I've been driving 2 months now. Before this, I was driving the Medallion yellow cab 4 years. What made me go to Uber, or decided on Uber, was a pending lawsuit that I had against the New York City Taxi Limousine Commission, along with about 20 other agencies, such as the New York City Department of Transportation, Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, MTA Police, Long Island Railroad, just to name a few.
Okay.
I was at Jamaica Long Island. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I went to Jamaica Long Island Railroad because I had got a word from my wife that she was headed out to Long Island to visit a friend. So she told me there is a taxi stand at Jamaica Long Island Railroad. I was like, really? So this was March 2012.
Okay.
So I decided to go out to Jamaica Long Island Railroad. This is like April 2012.
Okay.
When I got there,
what time of day?
I'm sorry?
What time of day?
So I was starting at 2 a.m. in the morning, so I think I got there about 2 a.m. that day.
Okay.
Or a little after 2 a.m.
Okay.
And when I got there, I seen all kinds of illegal street hails, such as private cars, livery cars, no yellow cabs. I was the only yellow cab there.
Right.
And I was met with a whole lot of opposition from all of those cars that was over there.
Okay. Did you get any opposition from any authorities there?
MTA Police gave me a ticket for soliciting within 100 feet of an authorized taxi stand. I still have it.
Incredible.
I paid the ticket,
Yeah.
$50,
Yeah.
but I raised the issue to the New York City Taxi Limousine Commission. I told them about the issue. I sent a copy of the ticket to them. They responded and said a yellow cab can pick up anywhere within New York City.
And that's correct.
That was the end of that.
Right.
But so I said, well, what you going to do about the MTA? MTA Police, could you talk to them so they can understand this? They didn't talk to them. Nothing happened.
Who at the TLC did you talk to?
I can't remember the name. I think his name was some lady named Brown, but I just did it over the TLC website.
In other words, it was through emails you spoke to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Through email. No one directly, because I didn't know who to call directly about such issues. I just went online and I decided to complain saying I have an issue and the police gave me a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. So I was still going over there and still going over the Jamaica Long Island Railroad. Then I was still having, still meeting the opposition. And then coming up October 2012, this was about 3:30 in the morning, I had an elderly couple come up to me saying they want to go to East Hampton, Long Island.
Okay.
So I looked in the rate book, the blue book from the MTS taxi and chauffeur guys. The rate book says that's about a $500 trip.
Where to again?
East Hampton.
East Hampton, that's Suffolk County, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the elderly couple said, well, we don't have $500. I said, now let's talk to negotiate. How much are you willing to pay? Because you're asking me to drive 2.5 hours there and then drive 2.5 hours coming back.
Right.
This is a 5-hour job.
Right.
So we're in the negotiating process, and then one of the livery cars, the illegal street hails, overheard my conversation and said he'll do that trip for $150.
Okay.
So basically he cut in. So I was going through a few emotions in my body. What should I do? Should I get physical? Should I not get physical? Because I know I can legally pick up, but the elderly couple's not coming with me. What should I do? So I said, let me just think. Don't do anything. Think first. Don't react. Just think. Just let it go.
Now, this happened while you were on the taxi stand, waiting for somebody to come out of Jamaica Station and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because at Jamaica Long Island Railroad, it is not a taxi stand. It's basically like a dispatch booth, like what you have at JFK and LaGuardia Airport. But this is specifically set up for Queens Village car service.
Is there a sign there from the Department of Transportation that says such, anything like, such as taxi stands will have a sign in the city, throughout the city, even in Queens and and the boroughs, that says signs that say taxi stand? Were there
there are signage, but it's on the ground. It's mobile. It's nothing like how you see in the city where you have the pole and the actual sign itself. But there are arrows pointing to the dispatch booth. It's called Ride Safe to that effect, but it's not physical on the concrete, like cemented.
Okay, well, let me just say this to anybody that's listening. Jamaica Station is within the city of New York. It's in the county of Queens, borough of Queens, and New York City yellow medallion taxis are permitted by law to pick up anywhere within 5 boroughs of the city of New York.
So, but the MTA police told me that I legally cannot pick up outside of Manhattan.
Okay.
So I said, which law, which rule cite it for me? Help me out. They never did.
Well, they're wrong.
Yes, they are. And I brought the issue to New York City Tax and Museum Commission. I told them this is what the MTA said, and they were silent on the issue. So, when I lost my fare for $500 going to the Hamptons, East Hampton, I had a court date the following day on an unrelated issue about a rate 4 overcharge, which I won the case. It was dismissed because the administrative law judge said no, he did not overcharge. So while I was there, the lawyer that I had, I said, okay, I have an issue besides my rate 4 overcharge. I would like to file a complaint or even try to begin a lawsuit against the Tax and Museum Commission. So that's when the idea started that I should bring a lawsuit about my issue with Jamaica Long Island Railroad.
Okay.
So I eventually filed the lawsuit going towards the end of November, around Thanksgiving, and that's when I initiated the lawsuit.
Let me just roll back a little here. You were online or waiting in an unspecified area at the Jamaica Station for a fare. These people came out. Since they were in Suffolk County, you have a right to negotiate a fare to Suffolk County. Okay?
Yes.
Nassau County would be rate 4. Okay? But this is Suffolk County. Okay?
Yes.
The price that you were negotiating may have been a little bit high, and even so, maybe they didn't want to pay it, in which case you could have renegotiated, or the passenger always has the right to go to another car and say, well, how much will you charge me? How much will you charge me? Because this is a negotiable rate. You don't own that fare until they're seated in the cab and have agreed and punched into the meter the flat rate amount that you agree on. Okay?
Yes.
So at what point were you when you lost this fare?
I was in the midst of talking to the couple.
Right.
Because factor in, yellow cabs are the only ones that can pick up street hails off the street. Everything else is prearranged.
Except in the boroughs. This was after the borough tax. This was a green car.
No, this was before. There was no green. Green car was still negotiating at the time.
This was a livery cab.
Livery car, because the rule from the New York State Court of Appeals was the oral argument was Wednesday, April 24th, 2013.
Okay, so this was before the green cabs were issued.
Yes.
Okay, I follow you. Go ahead.
Yes, it was before the green cabs were permitted on the street.
Okay.
Before the rule came out.
Right. Okay.
So this was livery cars, so that wasn't prearranged, and they were not legal because they're not yellow cabs.
Right.
For the street hails.
Right. The only ones that could pick up street hails now, currently, are yellow taxis anywhere in the city of New York, and green cars in the specified areas that they're allowed to pick up. Okay.
Well, you also got the dollar cabs going up and down Jamaica.
Well, that's different. Those are sort of like bus rides. I'm not totally familiar with that. Okay.
Yes, but just letting you know that they're livery cars doing a dedicated route.
I see. In other words, they have a specific route that they follow, such as buses do, and they can pick up along that route.
Yeah, and they're charging
$2.50.
Not the bus fare.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So they call them dollar cabs.
I understand. I personally, it's been a while since I've lived in the city of New York. Okay.
Yes.
Even though I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead. Yeah, all right. So this livery car came over basically and picked this fare right away from you before your negotiations were finished.
Yes.
Okay. So you filed suit with who?
I filed suit in the State Supreme Court, 60 Center Street. Since the New York City Tax and Lien Commission headquarters is in Manhattan, so that's why I filed it.
Okay. And you challenged who?
And I challenged the New York City Tax and Lien Commission and their rule about picking up off the street, saying that it's unconstitutional because I cannot do it at Jamaica Long Island Railroad. So it's a conflict of what you say and what I'm able to do.
But they weren't the ones that interfered with you. It was
I know.
It was the police that interfered with you.
So what I did was, since that's what New York City Tax and Lien Commission said that I could do.
Yeah, what you were saying was that your rights were violated as a New York City taxi driver. Okay, by I don't know who, but you filed against the Taxi and Limousine Commission. Okay.
No, it wasn't only the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission. Okay. It was about 20 other agencies. I just listed some of them. MTA Police was one of them.
Right.
The New York City Department of Transportation was one of them. Long Island Railroad was one of them.
Okay. Okay. Did you do this on your own, or did you do this?
I did it on my own because I asked the lawyer that I had. He came back and told me, forget about it.
Yeah.
Then I said, well, I'm not going to stop because you say forget about it because it's dear to me.
Probably the fees that he would have had to charge you to go through all of this were so high that it was sort of pointless. It's the kind of case that should be filed, as a class action suit by and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just I'm just saying that it would be better off if somebody filed it on behalf of all of the of many cab drivers that were violated. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure all the cab drivers were violated, and I brought the issues to some of the cab drivers. I'm just having conversations with them. Yeah. But I said, well, when I was ready to make my move, there was no one there. So I said, there was no one that was ready to follow through with the paperwork. Yeah. So I said, well, I'm not going to stop because you're not ready. I got to go through this because I'm ready. Mm. And so that's what I did. I did it myself.
Okay. So continue. How did this thing play out?
And then the New York City Law Department contacted me on behalf of New York City Tax and Limousine Commission and the New York City Department of Transportation.
Right.
A lawyer by Sharon Shear.
Right. Then
Sharon Shear, what I've learned that she did was a thing called statute of limitation. Trying to get me outside of it. So asking for more time. Asking for more time. They're not ready. But I've learned that New York City Law Department has 1,500 lawyers, so they were more than ready. Yeah. So it was a strategy about timing and getting me out of that framework.
If you file in time, you're not violating the statute of limitations. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have already filed. Okay.
Yes.
Well, when they contacted you, what was their reason for contacting you?
They needed more time.
They needed more time.
They needed more time.
That's funny.
It is funny.
Yeah,
in retrospect, it's funny.
Yeah. You know, one little guy files a lawsuit, you know, because he can't pick up a fare at Jamaica Station and they need more time. Okay.
And then eventually the Supreme Court dismissed my case because they said I did not file with the New York City comptroller a notice of claim.
Yeah.
And they also said I could not add defendants. It was moot.
Yeah.
Because of what was going on with the now green cabs coming out. Because when the decision was eventually made, it was after the green cabs were allowed to come out the street, which was August 2013.
Yeah, maybe this should be a lesson to you that even if you can't afford legal fees, you should seek some sort of legal help, okay, legal aid or something. You know, because they're the one. These you know, no one knows the courts better than the legal people. Okay, and basically what you were up against was like Sandy Koufax pitching to a little kid.
Yeah.
You know who Sandy Koufax is, I imagine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's one of the greatest baseball pitchers that ever lived. Okay, so he's pitching to a kid, you know, 3 years old with a baseball hat on. Okay. And, you know, that's basically what you were up against without any legal advice.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what I learned.
Yeah.
I was in a law library as much as I possibly could. Then I appealed to the appellate division in Manhattan, 27th Street and Madison.
Yeah.
I appealed on time. 30 days after a decision is made, rendered from the Supreme Court.
Right.
And then what was happening in the appellate division, the law clerks was moving my case down the calendar so it could seem like it's being abandoned, which is another strategy by courts.
Let me ask you this. What were you asking for in damages?
Just whatever I lost. My fare for $500 and then from when I first got there, I forgot the exact figure that I put down, but it was, I cannot say it was anything astronomical, but it was just like what I would have lost in everyday fares, you know, up until the time that I filed the lawsuit.
Okay, so let's move ahead. You filed an appeal and you got.
I filed appeal in the appellate division, and then the appellate division finally put my case on the calendar after moving it twice. Because with the law clerks, I was purposely doing that.
Right.
So my case would not seem abandoned and struck off the calendar.
Right.
And then I eventually had oral arguments. And then after oral argument, my case was denied based off of what the Supreme Court said. Then I appealed in the appellate division to go to the Supreme Court. And then 30 days passed. There was no decision on my appeal. Then I went to the New York State Court of Appeals, and I appealed there directly, and then they denied my petition.
Let me interrupt you. There are fees for all of these appeals, aren't there?
What I did was I applied for a poor person order. So I showed that I was poor and certain financial circumstances I was able to go through and without paying by the grace of the court, without any kind of abuse.
Okay.
So I didn't.
So you really had nothing to lose, but your time, which you know, and if you don't mind taking your time to do it, you really had nothing to lose at all.
Yes.
Right.
But I just wanted to go through it, regardless if it was costing me or not. But I wanted to act like it was costing me because it was still my time.
Yeah. Right. Time is money.
And then once my petition was denied, or once my argument was denied from the New York State Court of Appeals, that's when I appealed to the United States Supreme Court.
Oh boy.
And because I want this issue to be addressed.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. You know, you're a fighter.
So when I got to the United States Supreme Court, the court denied my poor person and said you must pay the court fee. And then I had 3 weeks to get my paperwork in compliance with the court rules, that they want anything submitted to them must be in a certain format. And I had 3 weeks to do that.
How much was the court fee?
The court fee was like $350.
Okay, and were you able to get your paperwork in order?
Yes, I was able to get my paperwork in order because there was a printing company from Omaha, Nebraska called Ku Legal Briefs. They contacted me and said, we see that you have a petition pending in the Supreme Court, these are the services that we can do. We can get your paperwork how the court wants it. Call us to let us know. So I contacted them. They did it for me, and it made it in the court in the proper form. And I complied with the rule of the court, and then the court denied my petition. And that was April 20th, 2015.
On what grounds was it denied? What was their decision?
Supreme Court of the United States do not need to give any grounds.
Oh, okay. Well, along the line, why was it denied?
I'm thinking of the notice of claim. I'm also thinking it wasn't of national importance. It wasn't novel.
Yeah.
It wasn't special. So all of those things I'm learning, those are some of the things that the Supreme Court
what was the original court decision? The one that you first...
Originally from the lower Supreme Court, it was, I did not file a notice of claim with the comptroller of New York City, which at the time was John Lewis.
So the actual issue of whether or not you could pick up the street hail was never actually addressed.
It was evaded.
Evaded. Oh, boy.
It was never addressed. It was all about the notice of claim and adding defendants. It wasn't even brought up.
Okay.
It was called an evasion of review.
Let me ask you this. If you had it to do over again, would you do the same thing?
Yes, I would. But now I would not. What I would also do was not make any kind of a stipulation with no lawyer from the law department.
Yeah. All right.
Because I'm an individual. I'm a pro se. And since they have exercised themselves amongst one another, so they know the tactics and strategies that can evade actually a fight, because they're not in the business of fighting or even addressing issues.
Okay, so it's the case is over. Still we have the yellow medallion taxis still have the right to pick up street hails within the 5 boroughs. They're still the only car, along with the green cars, that are now authorized to pick up the street hails in their zones, which is what they call the inclusionary zone, I would say, rather than...
Yes, West 110th Street to Battery Park, East 96th to Battery Park.
Right.
But as of June 2014, 800 green cabs were found picking up in that zone.
I'm sure they were.
800 tickets were given because of this.
We gave fair warning to them before they passed the law for the green cabs that this would happen. Okay. Me personally, I've been in the business since 1970. Okay.
Yes.
What year were you born?
74.
Okay, so you weren't even born yet when I started driving a New York City cab. Okay.
Yes, sir.
You drove a medallion taxi. Did you have your own medallion, or were you?
I was working out of a garage. I worked out of Utica. Well, before when I started, I worked out of Brooklyn Taxi Management. I drove with. They managed the taxis, and I drove with one guy for 9 months.
Yeah.
And then the company was sold, or the company went out of business, and they transferred all their records over to Taxi Fleet Management over there in Long Island City. And then I drove with the same guy because we had the same vehicle. I drove with him for, I think, another 3 or 4 months. Yeah. And then he got his own medallion because he's been in the business 15 years already.
You were driving somebody else's car.
Yes, I was working with the individual owner.
You mentioned Utica management.
When I first started, I drove with Utica Taxi for 6 months.
And where exactly are they?
Utica's in Brooklyn on Remsen
and Utica. Okay.
Remsen and Utica.
Okay, I grew up eating in the White Castle across the street from there.
White Castle's still there.
I know it's still there. That was those streets. Those streets are the streets that I actually grew up on. Right there.
Okay.
I went to PS 221. Okay. I went to Winthrop Junior High School. Okay. And I went to Wingate High School. Okay.
Okay. Wingate. Okay. Wingate still there. They broke it up and called out 2 other names.
I know about Wingate. I lived on Midwood Street between Utica and Schenectady. Okay.
Okay.
That's the house I was born in, right there in Brooklyn. Okay. and I lived there till my 20th birthday when I got drafted into the United States Army. So I know that neighborhood very, very well. Okay, do you still live in that neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how's it looking over there?
I cannot pretty much say, but it's still a populated area.
Yeah.
It's still populated. That long Utica Canal. They done changed the bus lanes. One lane now. It's no longer two lanes. But it's still populated.
Okay.
Still
All right. So let's continue. So you drove a yellow cab for 4 years. How many years?
Yes.
And
4 years.
Okay. What made you stop driving a yellow cab, and what are you doing now?
Okay, what made me stop driving a yellow cab was when I lost my petition in the United States Supreme Court against my case for the New York City Tax Exemption Commission. So that's what made me stop. Because I said in my paperwork that I submitted to the court that I'm being banished according to the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871 because that was a case that made its way to the United States Supreme Court, Wilson versus Garcia. It was police brutality in the state of Wisconsin, and it was based off of Section 1983, which is from the 42nd Congress, which was 1871. The 42nd Congress, Section 1983, during the time of Ulysses S. Grant. That's when that came about. Those Title 42, Section 1983, that's a case, that's a federal issue. So when I looked at that case, that's how I learned about what Section 1983 was. It actually is the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871.
Tell me more about the Ku Klux Klan Act, because I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871 were white Confederate soldiers who banded together after the Civil War and said, well, we need to not be part of the United States anymore. We need to be our own, the Union.
Yeah, well, they formed the Ku Klux Klan.
They formed the Ku Klux Klan, which at one time it was supposed to be something recreational. That's how it formed, but it became violent.
Yeah.
And then the original founder, Nathan Budapest, said, no, I can't be part of this anymore. So what those men did was put on white robes to commemorate the dead souls of the Confederate military men amongst themselves that died.
Yeah.
And so what they did was in the states of South Carolina, Virginia, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Tennessee, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, that was considered the South.
Right. Okay.
So what they did was in those states which had newly freed slaves, what they did was at night riding, burn crosses, intimidation, or any judges that had sympathy because of the now civil wars over and the North or the other parts of the United States won or became victorious because all of the military and the military bases or the garrisons in the South has been no more.
Okay.
So to keep it going, that's what gave birth to the Ku Klux Klan. So you can now have the intimidation of the newly freed slaves and the Northerners who came to the South to help reconstruct it, to help build it back up.
Okay, let me just say this. I know about the Ku Klux Klan. They're a horrible organization. I believe they still exist in some form. Okay.
Yes.
But what is this? How does this apply to you?
So
you and your
banishment, because I'm being banished from Jamaica Long Island Railroad.
Do you think that's stretching the point a little bit?
No, it's not stretching the point because if that's the case, it shouldn't have happened.
Well, no, it
and
shouldn't
if
have
it
happened.
happened,
but obviously you're an African American, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're what you're saying in essence is that you were banned from Long Island Railroad Station because you're an African American, and
no, I didn't raise that. What I raised was I'm being banished because I'm a Medallion yellow cab, and yellow cabs can pick up anywhere in the city. So that was what I focused on.
So you're making an analogy.
Yes, because I'm being banished.
Yeah.
Because if a yellow cab can pick up everywhere, why are they being told they cannot pick up? That's a conflict. It's an issue.
Okay, but I don't think it's racial. I don't think it's racial. I think it's wrong. But I don't think it's racial. I just think it's wrong that it's because they're trying to segregate the medallion taxis from the livery taxis when we're all part of one system. Okay.
Yes.
And what's wrong is that we're not being given our rights as yellow cab drivers, rights that we have purchased, okay, from the city of New York, okay.
That is correct.
Okay, so I mean that's my take on it, okay. I would never think about making an analogy with the Ku Klux Klan, okay. I don't know if I would go that far, I'm white and I'm Jewish, okay? So I don't think in those terms, all right? I mean,
okay.
the Ku Klux Klan.
Well, after reading court cases, and I kept on seeing Section 1983. I want to know what this 1983 is because it keeps coming up. So I just didn't take it for face value. Oh, Section 1983. You're not saying anything. You don't mean anything. You don't carry any weight.
Okay.
What is this 1983 that you're making reference to? That was how I posed the question to myself.
Okay,
so that's how I learned what it was.
Let's back up. Section 1983 was mentioned in the court case?
Yes, court case Wilson versus Garcia.
Okay, and you looked that up, and that was the Ku Klux Klan Act.
That is correct.
Okay, now I understand. Okay, so somewhere they put down Section 1983. Who wrote that in?
That was the 42nd Congress during the time of President Ulysses S. Grant.
But where was it written into your case? That's what I want to know.
Oh, when I submitted it to the appellate court and the Supreme Court and United States Supreme Court.
Oh, you submitted that as one of
Yes, I submitted it and said I'm being banished, and also the Supreme Court. I said I'm being banished.
Yeah.
Because I'm told I cannot be here.
Yeah.
And I say, well, I have to find something that's legal or something that's in the court system or that is recognized in law about being banished. Where can I find banishment at? Instead of me just venting or just saying that I'm upset. No, that doesn't mean anything. Okay. I need to find a case. So lawyers and judges can make reference to so they know that I'm...
You should have been a lawyer. You should have been a lawyer because you really don't deep into this, okay? Because if it was me in your shoes, I would have just said, I just would have quoted the law which says that within the city of New York, yellow medallion taxicabs are the only taxicabs permitted to pick up anywhere, which is in Title 19. I read some laws also, okay? I mean, maybe they read that and said, who is this cuckoo?
So what I've also learned was, since I'm not a graduate of the American Bar Association College, or university, that's an issue in the eyes of the court, because there's a case about that when you go to the federal district or the United States Supreme Court or even the New York State Court of Appeals called the Rooker-Feldman Doctrine. No decision that is in a court or a state court of last resort can be taken to a lower federal district court. It must be taken to the United States Supreme Court.
Okay.
Rooker-Feldman Doctrine.
Maybe you should go back to law school. I wanted to be a lawyer one time in my life, but then when I realized how much I had to read, I said, well, forget about that. Okay?
Well, listen, Abe.
Yeah.
All of this didn't start until I had my issue with Jamaica Long Island Railroad. I'm not saying I was doing fun. I was driving, picking people up, dropping them off, people vomiting in my car.
Yeah.
I told the TLC, they said nothing we can do. I told NYPD, they said nothing we can do.
Yeah.
And I kept on moving. I didn't
You know,
I didn't make an issue what they told me. They can't do nothing.
yeah. Well,
But once Jamaica Long Island Railroad, that's when I started to go into law. I wasn't thinking about practicing law. I'm learning all these rules. I'm learning about the Hobbs Act. I'm learning about General Municipal Law 181.
Yeah.
That says New York State Legislature gave a decree that let there be taxicabs all throughout New York, in Rockland County, Westchester County, Nassau, and Suffolk County.
Yeah.
That's General Municipal Law 181. That wasn't on my mind before Jamaica Long Island Railroad. That wasn't even in my tongue.
But it is now. You know, it
is now.
Have you ever heard this expression, which with each adversity comes the seed of equivalent or greater benefit? Have you ever heard that?
No, could you email that to me, please?
I will.
I can commit that to memory.
Well, basically what that means is because this bad thing happened to me, this great thing came out of it.
Yes.
Okay? Okay, then, you know, and it happens often in life. Okay?
Yes.
You know, I mean, I don't want to get personal, but my wife passed away 12 years ago, and because of that, I met the greatest woman I ever had.
My condolences and congratulations.
Okay, I mean, I'm sorry that happened, but you know, I'm in a much better place now. Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's what that means. Okay, so maybe you know, you could find some good out of this. Now, let me ask you this: you left the yellow cab business because of this incident. Okay.
Yeah.
And you went to Uber.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Uber. The reason why I can't say the reason why I went to it. The reason I'm there because I needed to be away from the yellow cab industry because of what just happened with me. Because while I was going through the lawsuit or while I was going through the issues, I wasn't really working because I was so focused on going to the court, going to the law library, studying, getting paperwork in, responding. Then I had to remember. I said, "Wait a minute, I'm still working.
Yeah, you have to
this is how I'm getting income. I still need to work,
right?
Even though this is still an issue, but I was losing sight of that. Almost got an eviction letter from my landlord because of all these because of this trial and this passage that I was going through.
Let me ask
but I didn't want to forget about it, and I said, why am I putting so much effort and energy into it just to walk away from it? I want to see this thing through. Because if I would have won my petition or if something would have been favorable for me, I would have still been driving the yellow cab. Hands down.
Well, you know,
because
you went to Uber, okay? You went to Uber. Tell me about your experience with Uber.
My experience is the people, for some reason, they seem to be nice because there is a rating system. It's a two-way. The drivers can rate and the passengers can rate. And let's say, for example, a passenger has an attitude. Instead of giving them 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5 stars, I can give them an explanation of how I'm feeling about this passenger. And how I like to work is particularly in Queens and the Bronx along the county lines of Nassau and Westchester County.
And you're getting a lot of business.
Because of the highways. Yes,
you're getting a lot of business there.
Get a lot of business because of the county line.
Yeah.
Because it translates to another kind of passenger ridership. I don't know what's over there. Because as a yellow cab, the meter would double once I leave out of Queens and go to Hempstead, but I'll have to come back empty because it's still Nassau County.
Yeah.
Let
me ask you
with Uber, the meter doesn't double, but I can drop off in Hempstead and pick up in Hempstead. And the same thing in Westchester County if I was to go to Fleetwood. The meter would double leaving the Bronx, come back empty. But Uber, drop off in Fleetwood and pick up in Fleetwood.
So you don't work at all in Manhattan?
Only around Port Authority. But that's only certain times of the night, not during the day. No, because as a yellow cab, I know how it is over there. I can't do no right turn on 8th Avenue. All the taxi line is doubled over there. The reason I'm on around Port Authority is because I can find parking because all the businesses are closed after 6 p.m.
Now let me ask you this. You know, it was your it was you that felt that you were being wronged when you weren't allowed to take that fare at Jamaica Station. Do you feel that you're doing something wrong when you're picking up people off the street on e-hails with Uber?
No, because, again, my fare was taken by someone that cannot legally pick up. And that's not the first time.
So do two wrongs make a right?
I can't say that I'm wrong. I'm not defending anything, but I know that I went to the proper channels. I went to Master Caddy Taxi School. I did my course in 3 days, 24 hours. I got my TLT license. I paid in the cup for these people. I did all the things that's required according to the Tax Limousine Commission rules. I followed all the rules that they said. Now, when I brought up something that they say they're enforcing in my driver's manual that I got from the taxi school, I'm raising it to bring to their issue, to their attention. They turn a blind eye to it. They don't want to address what they wrote. So that's being, what's the word, double-sided. What's the other one? You pick and choose. I'm lost of words right now, but you're not doing what you're saying, or what you propose to say.
Listen, Uber cars are black cars. Are you driving a black car? Did you buy a black car?
No, my car is white, and I didn't buy one. I'm renting it on a weekly basis.
You mean you're renting a car? You have TLC plates?
Yes.
Okay, so you're renting a car from who?
I'm renting it from one of their authorized dealers, Renat Buggy.
And they're in the city of New York. Where are they?
No, they're in Brooklyn.
No, that's the city of New York. Okay, and you're renting. You're an Uber X driver.
Yes.
Okay, so you're renting a car in Brooklyn. Where do you do? How much work do you do in Manhattan? Let me ask you this. Okay.
No, only time I go to Manhattan is when I drop off in Manhattan. I do not go to Manhattan to work.
You're working.
I don't leave Brooklyn to go to Manhattan to work.
Yeah. Okay. You don't.
I don't leave there.
Okay. Well, I didn't do that either when I first started driving a yellow cab. I used to work exclusively in Brooklyn. Okay. We're going back to the 19.
When I was driving the yellow cab, I was in Williamsburg.
Okay.
That's where I got my work from.
Most of it.
But
yeah.
With Uber, I go straight to Jamaica.
You like Jamaica Station?
That's where I go.
You like to?
Yeah, because
well, let me ask you this: how many of your fares are actually Uber fares?
All my fares Uber fares. Explain.
In other words, you get Uber calls at Jamaica Station.
Yes, I went to Southampton from Jamaica Long Island Railroad. Everything that I get over the iPhone is all Uber fares. There's nothing outside of Uber fares that I know of, but everything that I receive is all Uber fares because I'm on Uber platform.
Yeah. So you rent a car. How much do you pay to rent a car?
$425 a week.
Okay, and how much are you making? Are you making good money that way?
I'm making the money. I'm not saying that it's fast all the time, but I'm not hungry. I'm not starving, and I'm not begging. You understand?
Yeah.
I'm decent. I'm decent because how I move, because I don't push myself like if I need to, like my life depends on it. No, I just drive how I want to. I drive relaxed. If I want to go make copies of something, if I want to go do something, I just stop work, go make my copies, and you know what, I don't feel like working. Let me go get something to eat, or just stay offline, or not go back to work for like 4 or 5 hours. It's my choice.
Who's responsible for the maintenance on your car?
Well, there is a shop that I go to. Well, Uber, where I get the car from, they have a maintenance shop.
Okay, so but you pay for all the maintenance?
No.
You pay for some of the maintenance, or not?
Just pay the Uber fee.
In other words,
they change the oil for me. I don't come in my pocket for that. If I have a flat tire, I'll change the tire because I have a spare, and then wherever I'm at, I'll patch it up. But I won't patch that because that's $10, that's $20 to patch up. That's something that I can manage. But as for the big stuff, changing the brakes, they do that. because they have a maintenance shop.
In other words, you do $425 a week. That's what you're paying for the rental, right?
Yeah, that's $425, and also the rental of the phone.
Oh, is that
$10.
$10?
$10 device, basically because of the data that's being stored.
So that's $10 a week. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so $435.
$435, and you're paying for gas. How much a day for gas?
No, I gas up every 2 days, every 3 days.
All right, so approximately how much you spend a week for gas?
Maybe probably about $85, $90.
Let's eyeball it, $90. Okay, so
$90.
so $435. I got my calculator in my hand. $435 plus 90 divided by how many days a week do you work?
5, 6, depends on how I feel. Because I like to work according to the alternate side parking.
Oh.
Because
let's say 5 days a week you work.
Yeah, 5 days a week.
Okay, so your overhead is $105 a day.
Yeah.
Okay, so how much are you making over that $105 a day?
I get $5. I hit sometimes 200, 260, 300.
So you're basically making about the same amount of money that you.
Because how I approach it was how I did it in Yellow Cab. I had to make $180 credit cards every day.
Yeah.
So once I make $180 credit card every day, my expenses are covered. But in the Yellow Cab, it was cash and credit.
Right. Whatever it is, it's still money. Okay. The question is, are you making more money now, or are you making the same money that you were making in the Yellow Cab, or are you making less money? That's really the question.
It's about the same. Some days I make more, but for me, I'm driving relaxed. But when I was driving the Yellow Cab, I wasn't looking for a big score. I was looking for a big one. Like some drivers, they have a certain amount of family members that are not working, that's living in the household, so they have more pressure on themselves to make sure, because they cannot come home with no less than $500 a day. So I don't have that kind of pressure, and I don't like driving with that kind of pressure.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
So, but when I was driving the Yellow Cab, I calculated I needed $180 in credit cards. That's what I focused on. $180 credit cards. I don't care how big, how small the trip is. I'm doing it because I need $180 credit cards.
Yeah.
That's what I focused on. So that's the same approach that I'm taking when I'm in Uber. I don't look for $300, $500. I look for $180.
Okay. So how many hours do you have to work to make that 180?
Sometimes I try to do the same hours as the Yellow Cab. 8, 9, 10 hours, that window.
And you're finding all this work in Brooklyn or Jamaica or the Bronx or?
All my work, the majority of my work is in Queens and the Bronx at the county line. It's very rare that I pick up in Brooklyn. If I pick up in Brooklyn, that's when a passenger takes me to Brooklyn. I do not start off from Brooklyn. I do not start off from Manhattan. If a passenger takes me to Manhattan, sometimes I would leave Manhattan and go to the Bronx.
You have a car. You rented from some in Brooklyn. You rented. You said, right?
Yes. You
live in Brooklyn, right? In my old neighborhood.
Yeah, I live in Brooklyn.
Right.
Yes.
So when you wake up and you go to work, you are in Brooklyn. So
yes.
So you're starting in Brooklyn.
I don't pick no one up. I go straight to Jamaica
Station.
Straight to Jamaica Long Island Railroad.
You get on the bandwidth. You get off at
no, Atlantic Avenue.
You take Atlantic Avenue right out into Queens.
Straight on. I was running right into Jamaica Long Island Railroad. 94th and Sutphin. Then I made my left turn and I parked and stopped.
How long does it take you to get a fare while you're over there?
Sometimes 15 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes instantly. It all depends. It varies.
Okay,
Because I give you an example, Abe. There was a time I was driving a Yellow Cab. I started at 2 in the morning. I drove 1 hour and I couldn't get a passenger. I was in Williamsburg, couldn't get a passenger. I went to Astoria, couldn't get a passenger.
It's a rough time. I used to work those hours. Yeah.
But hey, I was picking up passengers in the past at that time, no issues. Then I made my way to Manhattan. 1 hour later, I couldn't get a passenger. I'm at Lexington and 53rd. This guy came up to me on my left side. He said, "Taxi?" I said, "Yes, sir. Come on, get in." He said, "I'm not going very far." I said, "Sir, get in. I don't want to hear your story." So he said, I'm just going to 3rd Avenue and 53rd. He was coming from the direction he wants me to take him in. I did not refuse. I said, "Sure, no problem, sir." So, Abe, I did a litmus test to find out if he was drunk, drugged, or both. I said, "Sir, 52nd, left turn. 3rd Avenue, left turn." He said, "When you do, I'm on the right side." I said, "This guy got his stuff together." The fare came up to $3.40. He wanted to pay by credit card. I said, "Sir, all of the information is in the back. I have no influence of what you want to do." He ended up giving me an $86 tip on a $3.40
Was he aware of it?
Yes, he was. I still got the receipt. How do you know that? So I learned to be patient.
Yeah.
And I learned, do not refuse any short trip.
Personally, I never refused any fare, long or short. Okay, you know.
Because when passengers get in my car, they know they're not going far, so they tell me, "I'm not going very far." Then I tell them, "Don't worry about it. The last person that said that gave me $86.
I don't quite have that story to tell, but believe me, you know, I got.
I'm sure.
I got 2 big tips in my day. All right, you know. I'm
sure. So I'm not going very far. I took it really well. I said, "Listen, saying that speech, you will not take me very well. If you're not going less than a block, it's not going to happen." He said, "What do you mean?" Then I tell them about that 3rd Avenue and 53rd Street story. Then they said, "Well, I'm not going to do that, but you did change my mind." And I said, "See, I told you. I was trying to warn you, but no, you don't want to adhere to the warning."
So listen, how do you feel about the Uber? You know, I really would have no objection to what you're doing. You know, the way you're operating with your Uber car, okay? Because basically what you're doing is what every other livery car does. The only difference is you have an Uber app and they didn't have an Uber app, okay? But
yes.
You know, we have a big objection about the Uber cars that are stealing all of the street hails in Manhattan, okay? And in zones where yellow taxis work, okay? And when I say stealing the street hails, they're either picking up e-hails right off the street, okay? And by the TLC's definition, an e-hail is a street hail, okay? And or when they're not doing e-hails, they're just trying to pick people off the street, okay?
Well, that's a problem because that's the whole point of you having an application. That's the whole point. Because I've learned that some of the Uber drivers, some were former yellow cab drivers, some were former livery car drivers, and some were not drivers at all. So that's the population that's being harnessed. So since I'm coming from the yellow cab industry, I know what a street hail is. I know what an illegal street hail is. Okay. I don't do it because I know that there could be a sting operation by the Tax and Limousine Commission that can set you up in a trap. Because I've been around long enough. You can't get me on that. No. You know, how much is to that? All kind of yellow cabs over there. What are you doing?
Well, there's a lot of that going on. Okay, and you know.
Of course, it's a sting. So you'll never hear about me getting caught in the sting operation picking up someone off the street.
Yeah.
Because, especially in my car.
Let me ask you this. You know, you're working and you're making money, and you know, you're getting by. You're making a living. You know, not a tremendously great living. Okay, but you're getting your expenses paid. You're paying your bills. You're eating every day.
Yes.
You have a place to sleep, right?
Yes. Yes.
Healthcare, you probably have some sort of policy. these days. You know, the Obamacare or I don't know what you have. Personally, I'm on Medicare. You know, I'm over 65.
Okay.
I finally arrived. Okay. Yeah.
Are you a young man?
I'm 67 actually. Okay. I was 22 when I started driving a cab, and I drove for the next 42 years. All right. Okay.
Wow.
I bought a medallion. Okay. I own that medallion.
Okay.
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 I never dreamt that my medallion would be in jeopardy as it is now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I've played by the rules. Okay. I've done everything I need. You know, I was supposed to do. I paid for my medallion. Okay. And now I'm retired on the income from that medallion. Okay.
Yes. Understood.
Yeah.
Equity.
Okay. And you know, this is something you'll never have driving for Uber.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you ever thought about that?
Yes, I have. I have a backup plan. And but the reason I'm saying I have a backup before I even started, I've heard Uber saying about robot,
right,
driverless vehicles. That's being worked on in Pittsburgh with Carnegie Mellon. So I'm familiar with that. So I have a Class A license. So I don't even need to even drive for any for hire industry anymore, because my backup plan right now, I have something going on with the post office.
I don't know much about that, but I know they have good retirement plans. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so I have something going on with the post office and driving the big trucks, even the tractor trailer. So
this Uber thing is a part-time gig, really.
Yeah, so I can turn it part-time. I can turn it whatever direction I want. So I have a backup plan, but not many people can talk like that. So that's why I'm not talking bad about anybody, because it's being broadcasted and people are going to be hearing it, you know, for time to come. But
you're
have a backup
years
plan.
Old, right?
Just don't.
Okay, so
Yes, sir.
So you don't have a lot of time, because you know these days go quick. You know. Okay.
Yes, they do. But my stuff is already in motion.
Okay.
It's already in the works.
All right. So,
it's already in the works. So I'm not just saying hypothetically. No, I've already physically started the process. I didn't took a drug test. I went to JFK yesterday to the drug test for the post office.
Good.
So I already started the work. This is my third time of interacting with them. Because while I was going through my lawsuit, in January, I had stopped driving the yellow cab, and it was just doing it on the weekends only, or just specifically on Sunday, that I was working with the post office. I did that for 3 months. I did that until April, or to the end of the middle of April.
Yeah, I worked Sundays for over 30 years.
The best days, according to a Wall Street Journal report that came out in 2011, I put it on the blog, saying that the best days to work in a yellow cab are Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, the day of a holiday, the day after holiday. Those are the best days. I have that.
I'll testify in court or anywhere that the best day of the week for me was Sunday. Okay? Yeah.
Sundays, my very first best day, or the day that I had my highest fare, came on a Sunday. 34 trips.
You know, I think I had my highest fare on a Sunday also. I went to Albany. Actually, I went beyond Albany.
Oh.
I went to Troy. Yeah.
I've heard of Troy.
Well, you know Troy Avenue, right? Yeah,
I know Troy Avenue. Troy upstate, like along interstate, I think 780 or 78.
Okay, but all of those streets in your neighborhood, which used to be my neighborhood, okay, are named for cities in the state of New York. You have Utica Avenue, Schenectady Avenue. These are all Albany, right,
Rochester,
Brooklyn Avenue, New York Avenue, Kingston Avenue. Okay.
Yeah, oh wow, I forgot about
Kingston, New York. It's right up the through on exit 19. Okay. All right, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you. One last question. Have you ever thought about coming back to the yellow industry?
Well, things have to be addressed. Number one, when you go get your yellow cab at the garage, the dispatcher has got to stop taking a bribe. Number two, the doorman in the Manhattan hotels must stop taking a bribe. Number three, the dispatchers at JFK Airport must stop taking a bribe.